Hello, everyone. We are continuing our coverage of the off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states in Nigeria. And, well, the program has actually been on all day, even from yesterday, monitoring the exercise. And now we understand that sorting and counting is ongoing in a number of polling units. We'll be bringing you updates on that on TVC News. I'm here with Theophilus Ilama, my colleague. Theo, it's good to see you this evening.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here. Of course, we're monitoring the elections, and our correspondents are all around Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa states doing the needful, bringing us up-to-date information on the situation in those three states. Of course, it's the off-cycle elections, and so we'll be bringing you updates and feedback as we get them.
Indeed, and the exercise actually kicked off at about 8:30 in the morning, because INEC had promised that accreditation and voting simultaneously from 8:30 a.m. It should end at 2:30 p.m. But if there's anyone on the queue, as at that time, that individual would still be allowed to eventually cast the ballot. We'll definitely be bringing our correspondent as the program continues for development where they are. Already, you know, some developments are there. We're already hearing about ballot boxes, result sheets.
Result sheets showing up.
Yeah.
Field result sheets.
Field result sheets. And of course, INEC has spoken about that, the fact that they're looking into it, they're taking it seriously, and they're investigating that. And also from Kogi State, we heard of one of the governorship candidates who
refusing to cast his
refused
ballots.
to vote.
Refused to vote, saying he doesn't want to give the elections a legitimacy.
Well, we'll get to discuss all of that. And then that particular call now from former President Goodluck Jonathan, that an end should come to off-cycle elections in Nigeria. We'll be taking our guests up on some of those, to ask about the feasibility of that, what has to go in to actually make that happen. We're not doing this alone. We have with us in the studio Lester Wilcox. He is a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. It's a wonderful time to be in the midst of two heavyweights.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks a whole lot.
I'm grateful.
You're welcome, sir. So let's just take a moment, and then when we come back, we'll delve into the issues fully. Remember, it's a special coverage of the off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi State. It is Saturday, 11th of November 2023, and residents of Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi State today trooped out to actually vote who their next governor would be for the next 4 years. And we are monitoring the exercise here in TVC News. You can watch this, of course, live on TV or on YouTube as the program continues. Now let's get into the discussion. Mr. Wilcox, let's begin with your assessment now of the exercise so far. You have monitored, you have heard people on the field talk about what their experiences are. How would you evaluate it?
Well, thank you for having me. And let me also congratulate INEC for the humongous task of conducting elections. It's just about barely 9 months we had the general elections, and now we have to have this off-season election. So it's quite a humongous task in terms of logistics and all whatnot. So far, I have from your network and from some other network that have monitored, even from the social media. Well, it came with mixed feelings, which is not unexpected. You know, rumors will be rife. A lot of conjectures will go on. A lot of accusations will come in. A lot of, and we have some people who say it is peaceful, it is clear. Others will tell you they don't want to give credibility to the process and all. So for me, it's rather too early in the day to have. But in all, it is not unexpected what we are hearing now. The cacophony of voices that we are hearing now is not unexpected. It has been our being. This is who we are. Each time an election starts, we have misgivings, where some people say it is free and fair, where some people say the process is okay, some people say, oh, it didn't work out, this does not happen. So several things, and today we're having this election in 3 states, which is quite unusual of INEC. Most times, even off-season election, they do it state by state. But I think this time around, they choose to look at, even though the 3 states do not have the same handover dates, the handover dates are different, but they choose to conduct it so long as it's within the 150 days constitutional requirements to conduct the election. So they just choose to conduct it in the same period so that they will just put their help all there. Because I tell you, more elections are coming. Because more by-elections now, let's call it by-elections are coming. Because I remember, you know that so far the court has sacked a lot of House of Rep, a lot of senators, a lot of House of Assembly members. So these elections are in the offing. Maybe in the next 1 month or 2, you also find INEC in the field conducting this other election. So I think it's quite a humongous task, and let me commend them so far.
So let's quickly ask you about this off-cycle election that you mentioned as well, and we're experiencing. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, while voting, called for an end to off-cycle elections, telling or calling on the legislature to have a constitutional amendment, amend the 1999 Constitution to ensure that we have unified elections. What's your take on that?
Sincerely, I do not know where the former president is coming from. Well, at that level, he's a big man. He has seen it all. So I don't know where he's coming from. But you know, the off-cycle elections came up as a result of the court judgment, excuse me, the court judgment obtained by Mr. P2B in, is it 2005 or 6? No, 2008. 2008. Okay. That's 2008, sorry. When, 2007. When his term was supposed, when, you know, he was sworn in 2 years plus after that he held sway. Yes. So INEC conducted a general election, saying there's a general election for everybody.
And he went to court.
And Mr. Uba was sworn in after as the winner of that election, and he ruled for 16 days, the shortest governor in Nigeria. He ruled for 16 days when the Supreme Court, who ruled that the tenure of a governor or a president starts from the day he takes his oath of office. The Constitution says 4 years from the day you take your oath of office. So the off-season election came as a result of now. Anambra, and they all came out of judicial pronouncements of winners, and at the time they were sworn in. So it now dovetailed to that of
Edo State.
Edo,
Ondo,
Ondo,
yeah.
Ekiti, what do they call him? Ekiti, you know the verb between what Fayemi and this guy went through, and then no, not Fayemi and Oni, what they went through, then Adegbeshola, and then now it went to Kogi and all that. So I don't think it can end, except you want to say that just like the legislature, the legislature is seen as a body. So the day of the inauguration, they are all inaugurated as a body. So there is nobody that is outside that inauguration. So even if you come in 2 days to the end of that inauguration, you are still covered by that, just like a parliament.
Okay.
So that is why that one is different. But a governor takes an oath of office, and the constitution says from the day you take your oath of office.
Doesn't that put a strain on the activities of INEC, because they have to conduct elections almost every year? Next year we're going to Edo State and Ondo State, and before you know it, we're getting to Anambra State.
Well, let's hope that some other states will not join that fray, because some states now, like Kanu, like I think Plateau thereabout, have also notified governor's election. Now, how did Imo join this fray? It was at the result of the Supreme Court declaring Uzodimma as winner after almost 9 months into the election that brought in the other man. What was his name? The former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives.
Yes.
Ihedioha, yes. So Emeka Ihedioha. So that was what brought Imo to the fray. So if maybe what do you call them, Kanu, now joins the fray. You accept you are saying you accept you are going to say that despite when you were inaugurated, just like the the assembly, because assembly is one body, okay, you will run to the end of that period. So that if that comes to be, but if not, we must have these off-season elections will continue. I mean, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. Even in the US, there are some elections that takes place not at the normal, regular, because they have a 4-year mandate. So as at the time you start, so I don't think that call from ex-president, from former President Jonathan, might see the light of the day. It's for me best advice, because you cannot. Okay, look at even his state is involved, because you know what happened with his state. To me, Preserver's time and so that's all that came to came to play. And then as at the time Saraki Disin was sworn in, his term starts at that time.
And perhaps this also raises the issue of the court having what you can call the final say. Ideally, it should be the people who go to the polls who elect whoever they want to be their representatives. But somehow you find that upturned, sometimes in the law courts.
Well, the law court does not go, they are not meddlesome interlopers. They do not go fishing for who to nullify his election, who to install. Now, our laws provide the fact that if you are aggrieved, you approach the court. Now, the court is not the one that elects for you. The court will review the evidences of the people that have been elected, of the people that did the election. Now, what the court will judge on is the information you give to them. That because, okay, I was cheated. I was cheated, and therefore I come to the court. The court will look at my documents. Okay? In polling unit A, you scored 10,000 votes or 5 votes. So they will add it up and say, okay, truly, you were cheated. So they will not declare you the rightful winner. It's not the court that declared it that elected you. It is the people, and so the court only validates the mandate of the people that was wrongly given to another person. So that is what exactly is because I mean, if you look at what happened in the case of Hopu Dozema, often a lot of people said the court is a Supreme Court governor, and I just laugh at either mischief or Nigeria we play a lot where we are a comedious nation, or either comedy or something. Because what Hopu Dozema took to the court is my vote for 388 polling units. Now, the result of 388 polling units was not tallied into the tally by INEC. And that's why he took to court. And that's why so when the court looked at the evidence he brought, that 388 polling units were not tallied, and they discovered that, yes, those results were actually not tallied. Were they fake results? Did they obtain them through the back door or whatever? But the fact that the court was satisfied that those results were not imputed into the tally. So they have to impute it and then compute and make it declare a winner, which is quite different from Bayelsa State. Bayelsa State, although Diri was a Supreme Court governor, what happened in Bayelsa State? It was not even Diri that went to court. It was within the APC family. I think somebody went to court to say the man that was nominated, that the standard bearer, was not, the deputy governor was not qualified. It was a pre-election issue. The deputy governor was not, that he had so many encumbrances to him being on that. Remember, he was a senator. Nobody challenges being a senator. Yes. So they said his name in one document is this, his name in another document is this. And so the court arrived at a decision that this deputy governor, which is part of the ticket, was defective. Now, people are saying, okay, you could have excised the deputy governor and leave the governor. Remember, that judgment came a day to the swearing of the governor. The man was in the field practicing, doing his practice. That's talking about a lion. Was in the field doing practicing how to salute, how to. When news came from Abuja that Oga, no be you again, no. Then we will say it is the Supreme Court that elected him. Also, of course, it can be argued other way, but the fact remains that somebody has to go to the court to say this man, because there are laws for you to be qualified. So did he meet all the criteria? So what the court did was to annul all the votes he scored. Annul all the votes that APC scored and then ask INEC to recompute. That was how Diri became a governor. So Diri can be rightfully said to be a Supreme Court governor in that sense, but I don't think he is, because it is what people take to court that the court will adjudicate on. They will not come to you and say, I didn't like this election. Even if the judges are watching the TV and see people carrying ballot and running, they will not come to you. They will not sit there in their chambers and say, we saw it in TV. Let us annul the election. No, you must come to them. And even if you come to them, you must bring the requisite evidences that will authenticate your case for them to even give you whatever reliefs that you're asking for.
And the burden of proof is even on the prosecutor.
Yes, it's on you. It's on you that alleges that. And they say election matter is even harder in terms of burden, because you are talking about, let's take a presidential election, 178,000 polling units. We're not even talking about states. We're talking about polling, because it is the polling units that you must have a problem with. You don't have problem with the state result. You have problem with polling units because what was in the polling? Because the polling unit is where the people voted. So it's because they say lawful vote. So it must be vote that is cast by the people that must be tallied. So it is the polling unit. So if you don't have your polling unit results, that is what you should not be sure is that result that enters the local government coalition result and then move on to the state and then to the national. Same thing to state. So I want to use this medium maybe to tell the contenders in this thing, please make sure you have your polling unit results. Don't come and don't be waiting for IREF. Because that's the mistake people made in the last presidential election. They just, we're waiting for IREF. IREF must give us our results. IREF is not a result collation platform. And it was so good that before that presidential election, before the decision of the Court of Appeal at the presidential, Osun State election petition was already settled at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that IREF is not a result collation platform. It won't even be admissible. It is at best a viewing portal, a viewing center. So if you don't have your from ECS from your respective polling units, which it is what you can use to prove that I scored 100 votes in polling unit A, and in the tabulation I was given 10. This is it. Signed by INEC, signed by police, signed by all this thing. So that is the only time the court can adjudicate for you. If you go and start telling the court in a local government, I believe I won. I was not. The court is not for that Christmas. They will not go and start fishing it for you. So please, they know it. They are all politicians. I'm not one. I'm not a politician. They are all politicians. So they should know all these things by now. That if you need to go and prove any fraud If you are hot, if you felt cheated, then get your facts right. Take it to the court and get justice.
Okay, so let's go to Kogi State. Now, there were reports of voter apathy.
Yeah.
And, of course, a particular governorship candidate refused to come out to vote. Let's have your reaction on that.
Well, I remember during the time of Adam Oshimole's second election, when he was to be elected, in the morning, who was the INEC chairman? Jega. In the morning, Adam Oshimole shouted, Jega has disappointed us. We have he was so shouted in the morning after going to vote. And in the evening, when the result was in his favor, he praised Jega to high heavens. In the morning, INEC has failed. INEC did not do anything. INEC, in the evening or the next day when he won, he praised INEC and praised Jega. You see, I am surprised at the person of Dino Melaye.
Okay, so we're trying to avoid the names.
Okay, sorry. I'm surprised at the person that, I saw it in the social media. I saw it everywhere. That say he's not going to vote because he's compromised. So how do you seek redress? You do not seek redress by boycott. Boycott is not, it's not a ground in our law for you to nullify an election. Low turnout is not a ground in our laws because the Constitution does not give any threshold as to the number of people that must cast their votes. Remember in the last presidential election, they say they collected about 90 million PVCs.
Yes.
We had 24, I just rounded up to 24, about 23 points. We had about 24 or 25 million people that voted. That is about 25% of those that collected PVCs. So they will have a sitting president with 8.8 million. Is it 8.8 million votes? Now, we say we're a country of 200 million. We had adult voting population of about 90-something million, and we have a legitimately elected president with 8 million. He's going to rule Nigeria for the next 4 years. Because there's no constitutional threshold that says you must
secure a certain number of votes.
There must be a certain number of turnouts. They only said you must secure 25% of the vote cast, not the PVC collected though, of the vote cast in at least 2/3 of the state. So if it is only 10 people that come out in the state to vote, and you had 4 votes or 3 votes, it's 25% now. You'll be declared winner. So anybody that said he's boycotting at this point, you have already shot yourself on the foot, because even now you cannot go to a regular court. You can only go to Election Petition Tribunal to air your grievance. And Election Petition Tribunal has a different set of rules altogether than the regular courts. So the rules that you take there is, okay, you went there to say I didn't vote because I'm not comfortable with the decision. Is that the rule? Is that what you're going to take there? And then you now incite supporters, band of supporters, and then they will now start having misgiving about the judiciary, begin to cast aspersion on the judiciary when you didn't prepare your case. So it is wrong. It is very, very wrong. And even this can be a ground for even his opponent to disqualify his vote, because they will say on that day the said candidate came up and said he was not in the race, and they will show evidences that such. So I don't think that was the as a sportsman, even if you see what happened in football. My team won Arsenal the other day, and
you just had to go there.
You had to put that.
You had to go there.
And they didn't. Arsenal player didn't walk out of the field and said because of that goal they will not play.
Sports and politics are different.
Politics, there has to be sportsmanship.
Okay.
Sportsmanship. That is why you see that in America, only Donald Trump has turned that narrative. The moment results are remember what happened between George Bush and the former vice president? How many votes in Florida? The moment they declared that George Bush won the election, the man called him and congratulated. That has been the practice.
Absolutely.
So that is the spirit of the sportsmanship that is there to be in politics. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, look at how many elections.
But we witnessed it in 2015, and we hope that we can
exactly.
We need to take a break now.
In 2015. So it has happened in Nigeria before.
Yes,
even at the highest level,
yes,
it has happened.
So we need to take a break now. When we come back, the conversation would continue. Please stay with us. We're monitoring the off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi State. And, a development that came in from Kogi State earlier today, and that was at polling unit 002 in Igalaogba, that's in Ida local government area. Voters there were said to have booed a fake party agent, someone who had just used the camouflage. Well, we do not know what exactly that individual had planned to do, but the voters were able to identify him and they booed him, and he was taken out of that space by security agents. Mr. Wilcox, let's talk about this, the role of voters, of citizens themselves in the election process.
Sincerely speaking, they should really own the process, because every polling unit is localized. It's within your confines. So you apparently should know most of the people around, especially those in the rural areas. I mean, Lagos, yes, you might not know everybody. I mean, big cities, you might not know cities, you might not know everybody, even places like Lokoja or where you might not, but there are some localities you must know everybody. Unfortunately, too, our voter register has not really been cleaned up. We still have a lot of duplications and names, but INEC has done a lot about it. But so people should know themselves around. So if anybody comes in, intruder comes in, if it's a locality, they should know and say, this one, we don't know you, or we know you somewhere else, or we used to know you in the other street. So what are you doing here? So citizens should own it. So each time I hear voter apathy, I get worried. Why will ordinarily individuals do not want to come out to vote? In my polling units, I live in Shomole. In my polling units, whenever I look at the voters list, there are over, I think 600, close to 700 on the voters list. But there's never been a time 150 coming out to vote. Never. In all the elections, there's never been a time 150 come out to vote. Lagos has on the voting, I think it's now about 8 million or thereabout. But even in the presidential election that was highly contested, we had less than 1.5 million, about 1.5 million thereabout. So it's either our voters register is faulty, and which for me that counts to a very large extent, or people register and they don't bother to go out and vote. That can be said in some highbrow areas. I mean, we know highbrow areas like I'm talking about Lagos now, like Etios, and where we have always had the fact that these people, it is maybe their house helps and that could go out and vote. And again, there is a lot of migrations. Again, there's a lot of migrations. Maybe today you're living in these streets, tomorrow you have moved to another area. I mean, I always use Shomole as my base. We used to have many of smaller face-you houses. Now there is a lot of new development, a lot of property developers have invaded the place and chased away every of the people that are there. So they will have moved to Ikorodu or some other areas. So when a next election comes, because there's no movement, they will not be able to vote. So there's a lot of migrations going on. I mean, but the difference is too wide. And then, again, the youths that are supposed to be the bedrock, their non-interest in this process should be worrisome. And that is why they should be, yes, what happened during the presidential election when a lot of people were agile, especially the youths, they wanted to make a statement, they wanted to make a change. And maybe when the change didn't come in their own expectation, what they wanted, maybe they just went back to their shares and discredit the system. And there's a lot of bad public that discredit the system, either from the print media, from the electronic media, from social media, that discredit the system. So when this continues, and the politicians are more guilty, look at it now, we just talked about it. Somebody who is supposed to be a contestant now wake up and you now hold the press and said the processor. So you've already discredited the system. So what do you expect the day-to-day man on the street to do? When you are the one discrediting the system, you are the politicians. So the politicians must learn how to promote the system. No matter how hot you are, you promote the system. Because it is when you get more people into the system that you can get your ambition actualized. But if you keep discrediting the system, you are driving people away, from embracing the process. And then, so what do you expect to gain? Like I said, there is no threshold. So even if it is, if you like, have 200, the whole Nigerian 200 million people on the voter register, and on election day, only 10 million people comes out to vote. That 10 million, whoever has the highest number of votes and win and get the spread as well by the law, will be elected, will be declared the winner. So it is in our own best interest, and that's the politicians, to make sure that to give the system a lot of advertising, marketing, and not to discredit it, because it's great today because it didn't favor you. Tomorrow it favors you. I just talked about Shimole. In the morning, Jega was a failure. In the evening, Jega was a successful man. So we must learn not to be double standard.
All right, so we're having Hamzat Lawal, the CEO of Connected Development, joining us via Zoom to give us an update on what he has observed so far as an election observer. Yeah. And he's giving us an update. Good evening, Hamzat. I'm sure you can hear me at this point, but let's know what you have observed so far. At this time, it's about some minutes going up to 6 p.m. What has been your observation of the election so far?
Oh, good evening, and thank you for having me. Just to first say that right now, sorting are ongoing and results are being counted. And as at 30 minutes ago on the IRF platform, results from Kogi, Bios, and Imo have been uploaded, and citizens can see the results on the IRF platform. 72 hours ago, I arrived to Kogi State, where I was received by the resident electoral commissioner. We jointly supervised and also inspected the sensitive materials that was sorted at the Central Bank of Nigeria and deployed to the 21 local governments of the state. I also have report from observers that 48 hours to the election, sensitive materials was deployed to all the local governments in Bayelsa states, because some local governments are riverine area. Afterwards, I traveled down to 4 local governments in Kogi State and launched our user-based situation room, which is a hub collecting real-time information from our observers in all the local governments in Kogi State, in Bayelsa State, and in Imo State. Today, I can confirm to you that before even this morning, we went to different rack centers to ensure that both sensitive and non-sensitive materials move to rack centers with security personnel to guarantee safety of life and property. As of this morning by 7 a.m., we head out to the field. At 7:30, we observed that INEC officials arrived early in various polling units, and as at 7:45, they set up, and as at 8 a.m., we observed that polling have opened and voting was done. We also observed that the beavers did not malfunction. The beavers was working in optimal. I even had the opportunity to cast my ballot because, my polling unit is domiciled here in Kogi State, and it took me less than 30 seconds for accreditation and getting my ballot paper. I can also confirm that we had a lot of priority voting for older people, pregnant women, people with disability. And also we had high numbers of turnout of women, young people, and people with disability in various polling units across Kogi State. But we also observed that in Imo State and Bayelsa State, there is low voter turnout. We observed that these voter inducements in Bayelsa State, at first they were buying votes for 15,000 naira, and it went up to 30,000 naira. We got evidence, picture, and video. And if you go on my X account, which is Twitter, you'll see the video that I personally tweeted from our accredited, verifiable observer on the field.
So the issue of voter inducement is still in the system. As an observer, what really would be your counsel at this time? Because we need to get, this right. We need that when people come out to vote, they vote their conscience and they vote whoever they actually desire to lead them, in the period ahead. So what really would be your call now to INEC on one hand, to the citizens and security agencies?
I think this is a call to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Yes, I'm aware that EFCC deploys their personnel on the ground to apprehend people who are inducing voters. But I think that we need to have serious conversation on our value system. But most importantly, we need to strengthen security agencies, particularly around intelligence gathering. How people are also moving money around. And I think the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also need to play a role. I think that there is an opportunity here to approach the 10th National Assembly and let's jointly review what are the gaps in the 2022 Electoral Act and how can we strengthen it. But beyond strengthening it, how can we also put resources, giving security agencies more resources, to be able to function optimally, also provide resources to INEC and ensure that INEC is able to, one, ensure that the logistical nightmare that we face during general elections, because this is an off-season election. That's why we are able to, ensure that security agencies deploy personnel. Police, for instance, deploy 40,000 personnel. I'm not even talking about Army and Department of State Services. So again, I think there's an opportunity here where we can look at this gap, but also scale as we go into 2027 general election. But most importantly, our value system is breaking rapidly.
All right, so I'm wondering if you observed the provisions made by INEC for people living with disabilities, for women and the children. For instance, about a month ago, INEC said about 2,338 polling units provided for people with disabilities. And they said they were providing bail ballots that will be available, magnifying glasses for people with albinism, and enlarged posters for voters with hearing impairment. Did you see any of this at different polling units you visited?
Yes, I can confirm to you that we even saw enhancers being provided by INEC. And that's why there was priority voting for people living with disability. I think we need to scale on this. Yes, I can confirm to you that INEC actually provided rails for people with disability, and they've been that awareness and sensitization. And I can also say that the INEC ad hoc staff were well trained to handle this matter. And I think we must commend citizens who were patient enough to understand that, yes, we must prioritize older people, pregnant women, and people with disabilities. So there's inclusiveness, but we need to also learn from this and scale, because during general election, there was not much that this gets in this kind of positive events. But maybe because this is all local election just from 3 states which are participating in these governorship elections.
Indeed, it's been such a day. I can see your face really. You must have had, a really long day. But then, let me just bring up this call that came in from former President Goodluck Jonathan. He believes that off-cycle elections should be done away with and that the legislature should actually step in to just manage the situation. What do you think? How feasible is that call?
This is practically impossible, because I know after this election we're still going to go into litigation. And this is only possible when politicians don't interfere in the electoral process. We didn't come into a democracy like this. It was unified, and then because of elections being overturned, now we have off-season elections. So what then happened to someone who is duly elected? Are you saying he should not use 4 years that is constitutionally provided? So this is practically impossible. But yeah, it's okay for us to have a conversation, but let's look at it from the point of amending the Electoral Act and the Nigerian constitutional provision that gives INEC that legal and regulatory framework. This is practically impossible. But I'm also looking at this off-season election from the positive aspect. We can deploy 40,000 police personnel, joint military and civil defense and Department of State Service personnel. But in general election, we don't have the capacity to deploy this. So again, I think we need to look at this from a perspective that, is this realistic? Or, we as much as we can throw up both words, but, realistically speaking, it's not possible.
Well, let's look at the issue of voter apathy as well that was experienced in Kogi State. What do you think must have been responsible for that?
Not in Kogi. The apathy that we reported was mostly even in Bayelsa State. Okay. And that's why vote buying moved from 15,000 to 30,000. Yes, there was a bit of voter apathy also in Imo State. But if you look at the clips, particularly from the polling unit we went to, because I was able to visit about 5 local governments, there was massive turnout, particularly women, young people, and people with disability. Yes, we know that there was a bit of tension, and this was caused by the political actors, because before now, political campaigners were using inciting and inflammatory statements. And that's why a lot of people are surprised. Oh, we thought there were going to be violence in Kogi State. How come, so far there is no any form or atom of violence? Everything is very peaceful. So again, when you also look at apathy, and low voter turnout, I think we need to also look at the INEC register. You know, this register has been collated for over a decade. We've not really cleaned up this register. You know, we can always argue and debate that maybe 15% of the people in the register have died or relocated, 10% have relocated, or another 10 have, you know, left the country. But nobody has really audited this register and cleaned it up. So yes, we might say we have about 90 million register nationally, but come to think of it, have we audited and cleaned up this register, or we continue to add and we just say, oh, there's low voter turnout? But you know, we can't put this side by side evidence-based data. So first, one thing we need to do as stakeholders, electoral stakeholders, is to review, audit, and clean up the electoral register, so we even understand what exactly we have. And then as we approach the 10th National Assembly and as we call for electoral reform, and also sensitize and mobilize people to come out in 2027, you know, let our message be clear. But before it's clear, it must be informed by a voter register that, you know, look at the reality of the current time.
You know, earlier you mentioned that you were able to, you know, get your accreditation done in, you know, just about 30 seconds. I think I'm really glad about that. And I really just hope that many other voters had same experience, because that would mean that the level of confidence that they have in INEC, you know, would receive some boost at this time. Because following the general election, you know, there were a whole lot of talks out there, especially among young people, about losing confidence in INEC. Do you think INEC has been able to redeem itself, or is it too early in the day to make that statement categorically?
I think this election has set a benchmark and a foundation for rebuilding public trust and confidence. And if you look at how INEC is even responsive, how issues we escalated in various states was addressed even publicly. So INEC is now more transparent, accountable, but most importantly, responsive and giving timely information, which also help us you know, or to counter fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. So I think INEC is now on the pathway to rebuilding back public trust. And I think we can use that, you know, as a yardstick to how government or public institution engage general public to build that confidence. Because for every government policy that must work, citizens must take ownership and have buy into it.
But should we be worried about the fact that today a voter election result was seen in a particular polling unit, and the only thing INEC has said is that we are investigating, but till now, no other tangible information has come from them?
Well, I think there's no cause for alarm, because yes, we can be worried about it, because how did a result sheet get filled even before voting commenced? I think it's commendable that INEC responded immediately after we escalated it as observers and joined civil society voice around it. And now they say they investigate. It's important to know that we have 10 resident electoral commissioners, 9 state reps, and a national commissioner. So again, they need to look what, you know, how did this come to be? I can confirm to you that in my present, Kogi State Resident Electoral Commissioner was signing the results sheet, you know, for state, for local government coalition. But the result sheet that was filled was a result sheet for a polling unit. So again, they need to really escalate and provide timely information so that when results are being collated and finally being announced, you know, we don't have so many litigation and there is no apprehension that might lead to breakdown of law and order.
And before the election, there were calls from different quarters. In some states, it was that the police commissioner should, you know, be moved. In other states, it was that the resident electoral commissioner should be changed. But it was not in all of these cases that those calls were actually acceded to. Do you think that could in any way have an impact on this election?
No, not at all. Because why would people come on the street for 8 hours to election and say the commissioner of police should be changed? That's really political. You know, let's be realistic and not play politics with everything. We can't continue to play politics with everything. This is an electoral process, and let's support the institution so that it's seamless. Yes, I know that some CP was redeployed, in some states, but why? There are no clear evidence to call for removal of resident electoral commissioner. But I also think that it's an opportunity to rethink how, even if Mr. President has the powers to appoint or nominate resident electoral commissioners, why the Senate, clear them before they're sworn into office. I think it's important that we must ensure that the people that are appointed as resident electoral commissioner are neutral, because they can't have political lining. Because what this do is it dents the public institution and takes away public trust from those institutions. So appointment of resident electoral commission. And I think that when we call for electoral reform, maybe we can look at the Constitution itself and the clauses that empowers the president and see how we can make it more clear that these are the criteria and these are the kind of people that should man that office and their roles and responsibility clearly set out.
Okay, so we're going to have more elections and by-elections to come. Of course, we have the likes of Edo next year.
State.
We have that of Ondo next year as well. Then other states will follow, and we have also by-elections. Looking at these off-cycle elections between Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State, what more can INEC do to better the process?
I think to train and retrain the ad hoc staff. I also think that to do more mock tests and also work closely with security agencies. Beyond what more INEC can do, this election have also taught me that security agencies have what it takes to tackle insecurity and banditry and any form of insurgency or terrorist attack. So I think that we have what we need, but we need to ensure there's political will and we put money where our mouth is. That's one thing I'm learning as we observe this election and get a better understanding about the security architecture and apparatus.
Well, Mr. Lawal, let me quickly read the story and then I would come to you. It's coming from Kogi State. It's something we've actually discussed in the studio earlier. And that's about the PDP governorship candidate, Senator Dino Melaye, commending security operatives for their conduct since the election began. He, however, knocked INEC over already filled result sheets in the possession of some of their staff in some local government areas. Mr. Melaye also alleged instances of vote buying, alleging that funds were used to sway voters' opinions. Let's listen to him and then we'll come to you.
The security agencies that there was, in fact, I would say we are suffocated with security. I would say that security is oversubscribed for the election. There was adequate security across board, and I think the security agencies so far have done brilliantly well. I just do hope that the security agencies will do exactly what they did during the preparatory processes of the election to the actual vote casting, to results announcement, that the same type of vigor is given to the collation centers. The collation centers must be protected at local government level, at the federal level, and at the state level.
Senator Dino Melaye, governorship candidate of the PDP in Kogi State there, yes, praised INEC for the conduct, but then he spoke about the already filled result sheets as alleged also by the SDP governorship candidates now, Murtala Ajaka. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that, and I know that the resident electoral commissioner made this statement to my president where he said, any place where there are irregularities, he has the powers to cancel or not recognize the vote. So he's going to make it null and void. So once this investigation is thoroughly carried out, we expect to hear back from INEC on what they will do moving forward. I think that, yes, I don't expect anything less from those candidates. For them, it's always about politics. And everyone is a member of a political party running under those platforms to win elections. So, but for me as an independent observer, my role is to observe, document my findings and reports and submit it to the appropriate authority. But I want to give INEC a benefit of doubt to finish the investigation and come back to election stakeholders and the general public on what actually went wrong. And if anyone is found wanting, I want them to extend the full route of the law and ensure that this person is duly prosecuted. So this serves as a this acts as a deterrent to others who want to interfere in our electoral process.
I would like to thank you very sincerely for talking to us. I know you need some rest now, and I hope you are able to get it in the midst of the whole work you're up to. Hamzat Lawal is CEO Connected Development, and he's observing the elections. He joined us from Kogi State. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Oh, thank you, and continue to do good work, TVC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll continue the conversation on our special coverage of the off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa states. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's bring you some updates now from Imo State. The governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Ethan Achono, has expressed displeasure over the process of transmitting the results after sorting and counting of the results.
So many places, it's either the staff there refuse to sign the result and upload, that they're going to now take the result up to the collation center. You are seeing what happened here. You had to take intervention of some of the security agencies who came here before they now started uploading. Before, they said it wasn't uploading, but now it suddenly started uploading. And maybe if this wasn't my area, maybe it would have been the same that's happened. There's a place where they don't even have result sheet in Mbisi, Abombisi. You see, so the thing is crazy because we are winning massively on the ground. They are trying everything humanly possible to fight and thwart it, but we will not allow it. I hope INEC is hearing me now. We will not allow it. Imolites will not allow it.
Ethan Achono, candidate of the Labour Party in the governorship election in Imo State. We'll get to talk more about that, but in the meantime, let's bring you updates from Bayelsa State. INEC has confirmed the release of its personnel that was abducted just before the election. Again, INEC has confirmed the release of its personnel that was abducted. Our guest, Alester Wilcox, is still here. The issue of security now for the election. Before this election, there were cases of, killings, and as a matter of fact, one of, the bodies, YAG Africa, for instance, predicted there will be low voter turnout because of these incidents of insecurity. How do you compare the experience pre-election and what we have witnessed today?
Well, most times, from my experience, is that most of the violence occurs on election day. Yes, you might have skirmishes of violence, maybe during rallies and all whatnot, but most times because people will want to carry out some unconventional acts, ballot box snatching and all that. So that will give the security agencies a lot of work. But you see, on the general security situation of the country, yes, a lot of places are still very volatile. Bayelsa, as a matter of fact, the three states that is current elections today have been very, very volatile states in terms of security-wise. Imo, we know the extended activities of IPOB and their ESN partner in Imo. In fact, in the entire South, I think Imo is the epicenter of this security issue without evidence of killing or whatnot. So it's not unexpected that some of these things will happen. And that's why we get the massive development of security. But again, we're in a country that has a very wide landmass. Let's even take Kogi State, for example. The landmass is so big. So even if you pack the whole security agencies in Nigeria into Kogi and put them side by side, it will not go round. There will still be more than enough empty spaces because it's a wide mass. So they have to do as much as they can do. And that's why I say the people must own the process. If you go to Bayelsa, half of the state is in the river. It's filled up with water. It's in the riverine area, and a lot happens in the riverine area. I'm sure those people that were adopted and decided it was in the riverine area of the state, because if you have to move election material by boats and you are not under any serious security cover, you are not doing it discreetly, where people will not know that, because anybody that gets hold of the election material is as good as trying to compromise the election. And so people will do all that they can do. And you will not expect anybody to go and challenge anybody on the sea. You will not expect any INEC official to go and challenge. If you do not have any enough security cover from security agencies, if security agencies, it depends on the firepower that you have or the deterrence that you have. Again, because I know what happens in that area. The level of militancy, is very, very high. So it is not out of place that you find this thing. But I'm happy from your report now that whoever that was adopted has been released. Maybe it was an adoption that is based on specific, let me get the electoral material, and not an adoption that is based on, okay, I'm taking you for ransom. So that may be why it was an easy thing for them to be released. Because because nobody can go and risk his life on top of water, where you don't even know how to swim, or you're not a good swimmer. Even if you're a good swimmer, how do you swim in the middle of an ocean? I mean, I come from that area, so I can understand. I can understand what anybody will face in terms of carrying election material through those. Then that is why discreteness. Sometimes this idea of INEC calling the whole world want to share material, it has its own pros and cons.
But perhaps they want to make everybody involved in the process. For
transparency, and then you are also now endangering the people that will carry it.
But which is better? Okay. Which is safer? Because when parties go to the court, for instance, and they say, okay, INEC was not transparent,
this becomes an evidence.
It was a very opaque
system.
When
parties go to the court and say, those kind of material we are adopted and kidnapped or killed. Because we've had instances where election officials were killed. This time around, we think it's an adoption. But sometimes we have them killed. People have lost their life on account of the Nigerian election. So the stakeholders must really find a way around some of these things, because it's not helping us. Now, I saw from your report the Labour Party candidate giving his own part of whatever thing he sees that was going wrong. I'm sure that is his locality. I think it's from that area. Yeah. And so he's saying, he's not giving his own. Look, and I said it here before now. Sir, take your form ECAT. Leave IREF. If you take IREF to court, you will not win. The form ECAs that you have is what you can take to court. Now he's complaining it is not uploaded, and people are not learning. This people has told you IREF is a viewing center. You are from EC8. It's what is important to you, and your agents are there. So gather them. So you don't need to make too much. Yes, if the people say this thing could not upload, no problem. I have my form EC8. If I'm cheated, I will take it to court. I will prove I won the election. So some of those, and that's why I said, when the actors are the ones that discredit the system, it gives a lot of fallback on the citizenry as to how much confidence they will have in the system and to want to participate. Because they will say, after they say, they are not, they know who they are, who they wanted.
So in that vein now, and in the vein, in looking at insecurity and what you have just said, how do people own the process?
No, you see, for me, like I said, every polling unit is localized. Do you understand? It's localized. We know, especially in these rural areas, let's even say in these rural areas, we know who we are. If you have a legitimate issue that election material came late, that's an issue. If you have an issue that it didn't come, that's an issue. But you cannot tell me that because some people will come and attack you in your locality, you will not want to defend yourself. No. The greatest danger is in doing nothing. That's the greatest danger. And the politicians that are principled about the process must be able to enlighten, educate, empower their people in order to. When people are saying that, the observer was talking of buying votes for 30,000, I think voters have stepped up their game. But again, there's a willing buyer. That's why there's a seller. No, there's a willing buyer. Yes, that's why there's a willing seller. That's why there's a buyer. Because if you understand the processes, and because today people see election as my time to get my own, because after that I won't get anything. Who says you won't get anything? No matter who rules the country, you should get the dividend of democracy. There must be something in there for you.
Well, let's talk about, we may still return to that, but let's talk about a critical aspect of this election, and that is the issue of IREV. Yeah. We know that it was introduced, of course, to help with some level of transparency for people to see what is going on beyond, what you have at the polling unit. Now, we have some latest statistics about upload of election results on IREV by INEC, and the upload is up to 60% in some of the states where elections are holding today. And, the process has now entered the critical state. We know counting and announcement of results. What do you think? And yes, on the screen we have some of the visuals. This one is from Imo State.
We're seeing about 60% over, yeah.
Yes, there.
Percentage uploaded is about 60, as at now, 60.93%.
Yes. And then...
And we
and
hear
this was
of...
taken about 5:54 p.m.
Yes.
That's when that image was taken.
And earlier we heard of Bielsa, that was about 64.
Yes, and even on the screen now we have Kogi. Kogi is about 54.56%. This was captured at about 5:54 p.m. also. So that's less than 50.
No, exactly.
And here is from Bielsa, I beg your pardon.
That's about
63.19, is that 9 or 5%?
Yes.
All right, so there's good progress.
Yes, there's good progress because you see, the IRF, it's a good innovation to the fact that, and what are you uploading to IRF? Let's even say what you are uploading to IRF. You're not uploading an individual figure, you're uploading the scanned, it's like you photocopy, you snap the Form EC8 that has been signed, that has been filled and signed at the polling unit. That's what you scan, that's what you upload. That's what you scan and upload. And it is there as a reference point. So that I can go to the portal and I can see it. I can see all the results for any state, for any locality, any local government, because that is the way the Beavers machine has been programmed. Ward, you can see for each ward, and it's a good thing for us because most often than not, our election results are not, you don't find them in the internet. Today, Ghana's election results are in the internet. They know how to, they look at the trend of each constituency. In fact, the last election, I was so thrilled. They'll tell you, in the UK, you know the majority of, every MP's majority, I mean, what he's doing. And you know, when the new election, they'll tell you, this man has a 5,000 majority, this party, and then so it will take, and for you to upturn that man. So everybody knows it is clear that this is there. Ghana is doing so well, their EC is doing so well. So that is a good thing for Nigeria. Don't discredit it. We just started it. Last time, INEC complained that they couldn't transmit, that they couldn't upload all because of whatever glitch, this, that happened. They couldn't upload everything. But that does not invalidate. So my point remains a viewing portal. It remains a viewing center. It remains a storage portal. But do not take it, do not go to, say, because INEC not to result in a certain local government or certain areas was not uploaded. Therefore, it's a grant for you to discredit the election. Have your copies of your Form EC8. The Supreme Court, all the courts have made that pronouncement over and over and over and over and over. You have Form EC8A and what other forms that are used in the manual collation. Collation is manual. It's not electronic. Upload and the storage is electronic. Collation is manual. And so that has remained part of it. So even if you want to do it electronic collation, it must also, those manual things must be imputed into those things and satisfied.
So you've said a lot
about it.
You've said a lot about citizens. Don't discredit the system.
No, don't discredit it.
But then what should they do, especially at this critical stage when sorting, counting, and upload is happening?
At this point in time, there is nothing much anybody can do because the election has been concluded. To those who voted, yours is to be sure that at the point of the polling unit, you've already seen your results. So that is where your own work ends, your own services end. Now it takes for the agents of the political of the candidates to follow this process to the local governments and ensure that you give back your, because now at this point the citizens have nothing to do. Even we that are doing at best analysis on how to either douse tension or in some places people want to create tension. Now that's not what is expected. It's not expected that it is not the what they call it, the party agents at the ward collation centers that have the job to do. Ensure that what comes from the units, from the polling units, are what is collated in the central collation, and then from there moved to local government collation center. So that is every person now should remain calm and watch that the system goes on. And people should not incite the system. That's for me. Don't incite the system. The system, let's not incite the system with comments, with degradation and all whatnot. The election as that now, there's nothing anybody can do than to expect a result.
Expects the results. And of course, as INEC has now commenced this process of, uploading on IREV just as it promised, what do you think is the impact of that on the electioneering process itself?
No, the impact is the fact that you can have a copy of your, anybody now can, because unlike before, if you are not in polling unit B, you cannot see the form, you cannot see what happens there. Now you can see. If it's all uploaded, you can see. Okay? And if anybody, the political parties now, if what is uploaded is not what you have as what happened in that place, you cannot raise an issue. So it creates more transparency. So if what's uploaded, because as a matter of fact, the uploading should be at that point. With that BVAS machine, that's what you used to snap the from EC8, and then I've not touched the machine before, so and then whatever be the processes you do an upload. Now that is the one that is supposed to hit the server, wherever the server is. So ensure that it is expected that the security agencies, the party agents will ensure that at the point where the results have been entered in from EC8, they should snap and upload, and that is it. So anybody can go to the portal and view. And you can click. I'm sure it has. I've not visited it before. I'm sure it has. It can be because I'm sure there is levels of authorization and other security level of viewing where you can view, the extent to which you can view, and all that. So that is it. It helps us to have a copy. But I keep saying it. Please, if you are going for any litigation, don't start quoting IREF.
Okay, so let's talk about the security concerns in states like Bayelsa State and the fact that earlier today there was the kidnap of INEC officials. What's your take on this? Because a lot of these things affect outcomes of elections.
No, certainly.
It affects voter confidence.
Yes, certainly.
In the elections, how can INEC overcome this kind of situation?
Well, that is not INEC. INEC
security officials.
Yes, INEC is, I say, in every election processes, there are so many other stakeholders that are contributory to it. Even up to the point that most of the returning officers these days are sourced from the universities.
Yes.
So even when people are saying electoral commissioners should be deployed, I don't understand if they even understand how the process works. During the elections, electoral commissioners are useless. At best, the administrators. Because the returning officers are not even appointed by the RECs. They are appointed by the national headquarters, and they pick professors who do the collation and announce the results. So, yes, I know that people can have one or two things where they can come, but the real people that does the election are those returning officers. At this point, the RECs are even the ex-administrators. So, when there is, so even you need the service of the youth corpus. They are also integral parts. So INEC is like an umpire. I mean, like the big house, but most of the services is done by other collaborating agencies. So in terms of security, it is solely in the hands of the security agencies. INEC can do nothing. The security agencies are supposed to provide security for both voters, elected officials, and materials. Do you understand? So even in the logistics, the movement of materials. Remember that most times they move their materials to Central Bank of Nigeria votes in each of the states. So you can discover that INEC also needs the service of the Central Bank to secure the material. Then you want to move it like what happened now. You want to move it to the polling unit. You need they sometimes collaborate with the National Union of Road Transport Workers because INEC will not have enough vehicles to be able to move. So they will collaborate with NURT and other people that will provide them vehicles maybe for a fee or whatever to do those services. So, so when some of these things happens, as far as INEC is concerned, their job is get the material to the polling unit, after the voters have voted, they are not the one that's going to call the voters out. Remember, it is the political parties and whoever the candidates, as soon as the voters voted, their own is to count the votes, announce the vote. Count, tally the vote, announce the vote. So the other services is collaborated with other agencies. And so those agencies must step up. Politicians, violence can can exist if politicians incite their people to violence. Violence can go if politicians tell their people, I don't want violence. Because if a politician says, look, gentlemen, don't go and fight for me.
I'm sure there are no overzealous
Human beings?
No, I don't think anybody can be more overzealous, can be more overzealous than the owner of the process. If you've told your people from whatever, maybe you have your central council, and you say cascade it down, do not. And everybody says that. August have not want us to chop, Abi. No, if they don't provide you, okay, even if you say it's overzealous and the man did not provide you the necessary tools you need to perpetrate that. Violence is not done empty-handed now. Violence is done with some element of mobilization. So if you are not mobilized to cause violence, will you start it? You will not. We are waiting for Oga to send money so that people can buy cutlasses and whatever they want to buy. And the man says, I'm not interested. Let us vote. Allow them to vote. Go and campaign, canvass for votes. Don't snatch ballot box. Don't input fake. Don't go and snatch ballot papers or INEC forms. So it is in the hands of the politicians. That's why every time you discover that politicians will sign peace accord, the police will be there, the SSS will be there, they will all sign peace accord and take it. And then by the time they leave that venue, you hear what they will be saying. Oh, INEC has failed. They are not doing this. So by the time you now even start making those comments, oh, your result is not being uploaded. Oh, this has happened. That one has happened. What happens? Even when your supporters do not want to do violence, you have not told them, I'm being cheated though. If I'm not there, you will not eat though, then they will not do the violence. So we must all know that we are all stakeholders, we are all partners in these whole processes. And we must get it right. And INEC must show, to a large extent, I think I empathize with INEC. They are doing the very best I think they can do. Not to say that there are no bad eggs, but they're doing the very best they can do. They are showing how credible they can be. They are showing how open they can be. They are showing how safe they can be. Then those in the field must also complement that, especially the politicians.
So let's get it right together is what you said.
Let's get it right together.
Do you think electronic voting is a step towards achieving that?
Well, there's no one silver bullet that can cure all. Electronic voting, yes, it helps. But again, it can be corrupted. It can create more problems. I remember during the last election, even in 2019, I remember what happened in 2019 when INEC talked about server, and people already know how to hack server and impute results, which was what the Supreme Court used to dismiss this case of Atiku and Buhari. Now, in this last election, people are already boasting that during the electioneering process, a lot of young guys abroad are saying they can electronically win the election for a certain candidate. So there are pros and cons. See, even the British system, that is, they still have it is still manual voting. The American system is still manual voting.
But why they have manual voting as well as have e-voting? Won't this ensure that people like, for instance, people like us as journalists will be able to vote?
Yes. Well, if you say, let's do e-voting for a certain set of people, how do you segment them? How?
But anybody can sit at home and decide to vote at home rather than go to a polling unit that is quite far from.
That is also
when there has to be vehicular.
That is also why.
Yes.
That's also where we are talking about the cons. We'll be able to have enough security in our today development. As even the British it's physical, it's manual. Because you see them count their vote, but they are faster. And you know, in the UK, it's as if during the elections, it's as if it's a normal day. I remember in one of the elections I was in the UK, that was there I traveled from London to Scotland. I got there and people are still, and because election closed by 10 o'clock. And maybe because they have smaller constituencies. And before you know it, they have count, blah, 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 count. Nobody's talking about ballot box snatching.
So that's a concern because here on days there will be elections. There's restriction on vehicular movement.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, some businesses for that day are
No, not
paralyzed.
some, all.
This was
All
even
business.
compounded
All
by
businesses.
the tussle with the organized labor
Yes.
saying that people can't fly in and out
yes,
of
all
Abuja.
businesses are. So I think we must, and I think it is because of some of these side negative effects. It's not only Nigeria. Even in other West African countries. I know whenever Ghana has the election, they also have that restriction. They close border, they do this, they do that. Same thing to Togo, Benin Republic.
Some even go as far as shutting down the internet.
Yes, some people go as far as doing that. Maybe because they felt they should. I don't know if South Africa closed their border whenever they did. I don't know. I have not been there during the election. I don't know if they have a restriction of movement. But I know that in our West African sub-region, most of them have shut down. So are we going to grow? I think it should be a big conversation. Are we going to grow to the level where we'll be comfortable? Even to the point that when you are doing a localized, I'm sure there's going to be election in Surulere, federal constituency in Surulere very soon. You can't pass through National Stadium. They will shut down, they will curtail everybody in Surulere because they're holding an election. This is within a state. So when it happens, I'm sure you will see that they will shut down Surulere. And so how do you within a state now shut a particular community locality? People cannot go in, cannot go out, you cannot walk through. There
are peculiarities here, but how do we handle these peculiarities so we don't have to shut down the economy while voting?
That is the question all of us must sit down to have, because I think this is our 24 years of broken democracy. Yes, although that every day the challenges are increasing by the day. The challenges are increasing. People felt, maybe the feeling is, oh, if there is no restrictions, people can move around, can create violence people can move from one spot, valid reasons. But can we now start having a conversation on how we can start winding these things down? So the point that we can afford to, okay, look at this, look at some of the things we saw in Kogi on the street. Kogi is a very central state. Kogi and Edo, they are very central states to anybody going from the north to the south or from the south to the north. Now, Kogi is shut down for hours. Transporters can't move, goods cannot move. Those who are supposed to be having perishable goods like tomatoes, pepper, things like that, they'll be stuck till whenever they open up the roads for them. So this has distortions. Today, people cannot go from the same thing in Bayelsa, cannot go from River State to Bayelsa, neither from Delta to Bayelsa or cut across. As for Imo, Imo is the heartland of the Igbo land. So nobody can go to Aba from Onitsha. So you discover that it's not tidy. It's not tidy. So we must begin to have conversations around these issues at a larger level as to how can we start ameliorating, winding down some of these things, because you disturb the life of every other person because a particular state is a particular location. It might be just one small locality, maybe a House of Assembly constituency, and then you shut. Maybe that place might lead to people might need access that area to the next street or the next community, and you say no, nobody can go there. You shut it, and no vehicle can move.
You know, off camera, you know, we're analyzing some of the pictures that our correspondent sent in from the States about people. Some even had to lay, you know, something similar to mats on the road.
Exactly.
Because the roads were shut and they couldn't move.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking, you know, let's try to reconcile that now with the call by former President Goodluck Jonathan. I know you'd spoken about that earlier, but then we are at it again. How do you think it should be? That could just be one of the reasons he made that call.
No. See, even in national elections, we shut down.
Perhaps it would mean the shutting down will be just once.
Yeah. Well, like you said, that call, because except you want to amend the constitution that there is a beginning date of every, like that May 29th. So even if a governor comes in at the end of the day on May 28th, on May 29th, he packs his load and go.
But which incumbent governor would agree to that?
That's it. And that was why P2B did a good thing then, to go to court to say his tenure starts from when he took out of, and the court sees it, and that's what now transmits to other people. And again, when because normally we do not finish our court cases before people, people are sworn in. So when you are sworn in, when you have not finished your case and you have more time. So if you are removed, you should, a new election will be conducted or a new winner that has been declared will be sworn in. So he must run his full course. And as I said, I'm afraid Plateau might join the race, Kanu might join the off-season, and then we'll now keep having off-season. And this occurs mainly for governorship elections. Those states now have a full complement of the House of Assembly. They all have their full complement of the House of Assembly because the House is a body. It's inaugurated on a day, they all live on a day. So it doesn't matter when you come in. But the executive, the chief executive, is always sworn in on a particular day and can say 4 years. So the House is also 4 years, but they are inaugurated together. So if there's an exit and an incoming, it's not individual, it's the House. Okay? Somebody was there, so you continue from where that person stopped. This one, somebody was not there. Now, the only person that, you can see, the only person that had that did not enjoy this off-season or this was Rotimi Amaechi.
Okay.
You know, he came in 9 months after Omehia was in power. Now, what was the case of the court? The case said, in the eyes of the law, it was the PDP. So it was still the same person, it's just that they changed whoever that was there. Same person that was ruling.
Okay,
that's why
he didn't
very quickly enjoy that extended.
Okay, very quickly, we need to bring in our senior political correspondent, Ayodele Ozugbakan, who is standing by at the INEC Collation Center there in Kogi State for some updates. Aya, what updates do you have for us at this time?
Yes, boss, the process of collation is done, and I'm right now at the state headquarters. That is going to be the final stop of the collation, and the collation center is getting set. The journalists, media houses, observers with their cameras setting up, waiting for the process to come all the way. We've gone past the process of the polling units. As you know, the process of polling units terminated immediately after the vote ended by 2:30. So they counted at the units level. From that units level, those results will be taken from 3,204 polling units. It will be taken to the ward level. So from the ward, it's going to go to the local government, and from local government, the whole thing is going to end here tonight. So we are waiting for 21 local governments. And you know, the way Kogi State is, the topography, there's some local government that's as far as 5 hours from, you know, the state capital here. So it's going to take time for them to go through the process of collation from the ward level to the local government level, and it will terminate here. So what we've seen today is something that is very, very unusual in Kogi State. Yesterday, I was very skeptical about the security concern by people. You know, the people have been talking about security, but today, what we witnessed today, top-notch across the state. Top-notch security across the state, reinforcement of military personnel all across strategic zones in those local government area, 21 local government area. My reporters that went to the Eastern Senatorial District, the Central Senatorial District, and of course the Western Senatorial District all came back reporting that security was top-notch everywhere, that they were stopped at every point to be searched, and even some people that even had police escorts. The policemen were asked to get down, and at the point in time, some military guys were searching the policemen. And you know, the innuendos that, oh, sometimes these police guys, policemen, sometimes they are drafted into doing something untoward during the election. But what these military guys are doing, you know, it's unprecedented. What they did today, it's unprecedented. They stop and search everywhere. So we didn't record, we've not seen situation of breakdown or law and any major breakdown of law and order across the 21 local governments in Kogi State, which is quite commendable, because when you see the level of apathy, a lot of people will say, look, what is responsible for this apathy might be concerned on security, about security, and how safe The exercise is going to be that how safe will people, when they come out to exercise their franchise, they always make reference to what happened 4 years ago, and they will come back to make reference to what happened even this February 2023 presidential election in the state. But to the naysayers today, we're actually very, very surprised at the level of security arrangement, particularly in Kogi State. I can testify to that, Bosse.
You have spoken about how it went at the polling units in the wards and local government, but let's talk about that collation center now. How tight really is security around that site?
Trust me, Bosse, if you don't have business here, you can't have access into this place. If you don't have cogent business beyond even the normal accreditation that we did, that the Independent National Electoral Commission did for us, we have this, and there's a barcode. There's a barcode with this ID card, and before we entered here, it was scanned. Scan the barcode to authenticate it, and sometimes they ask you for your official ID cards. So I can't count the number of policemen that cordon off this road. The road leading to the state headquarters had been cordoned off, so you can't even drive into this place. You can't even access this place if you don't have anything cogent. Now, what they are now telling us that in spite of the fact that the collation center is ready, cameramen from TV stations and everything, they've assembled their cameras, and this place is called Professor Mahmoud Yakub Hall, and inside the hall, cameramen from different TV stations, they've assembled their gadgets and microphones and cameras to actually transmit live the collation process. But what they've just told us that after 10 minutes now, that everybody will have to go out, that they would now be screened one by one, that you leave the equipment inside and everybody will go out, and people, the bomb disposal units and all other security agencies will now take over this place before they now screen people individually, despite the fact that you can see people inside now, that they've gained an entrance into this venue earlier. But what they are going to do now is that they are going to ask everybody to come out, and they're going to screen one by one. That shows the level of security, high alertness on part of security agencies here, and the final results from all the local governments from the 3,204 polling units. So, as I told you earlier, it will go through the wards. When it go through the wards and it will get through the local government, as of now, I have confirmation that it has gotten to most local governments. They've left the polling units, and they've finished their compilation and they're sorting at the ward level. So by now I can tell you authoritatively that most of those result sheets and ballot papers, they've made their way to this local government, 21 local government across Kogi State. So the final port of call will be this place, and it's going to be transmitted live in most TV stations.
Let's talk about the upload of results on IREV. We know that we've had about 60% success in some of the states. What is the situation in Kogi?
Yes, the Independent National Electoral Commission, they are just trying to kind of redeem their battered image after the 2023 presidential election on the promises they made about this IREV thing. But I can tell you that according to the Supreme Court judgment, the IREV, the portal is not the collation center. So INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, they will still be making use of that hard copy of Form EC8A, Form EC8-9, Form EC8-10, and everything will now climax here. So whatever you are seeing on the IREV, I can tell you that it's just for backup, except it is legislated that it's a must that INEC must upload, that there's a law on ground that INEC must upload, and that will be part of the requirement for result collation. According to the Supreme Court verdict, it's just, the IREV does not serve as a collation center. It will just give you a kind of idea of what is happening. And I think the Independent National Electoral Commission, they are trying to perfect their actants by, practicing, making sure that, gradually till they get there. So from what we've seen so far, some states have recorded 50%, some 60%, and some above that. But I can tell you authoritatively that the IREV is not something that the Independent National Electoral Commission will be using and will be relying on solely. What they are still going to be using is that result sheet from each of the 3,204 polling units in Kogi State here. So the IREV is just like an icing on the cake, an added incentive, but it's not something that I can say it's 100% foolproof and reliable right now.
Any information from INEC regarding the next step?
Yes, we have situation in Ogori Magogo local government that people reported the pre-filled result slip, and the Independent National Electoral Commission told us that they are looking at the case, they're looking at the merit, they're going to get back to us. We expect that before the collation starts, they will tell us what they want to do about that particular local government and every other places that this kind of concern was raised and it has been substantiated. So I see a situation whereby INEC will talk before the collation starts, and the worst case scenario is that INEC might say, look, that they should have a kind of by-election in those affected local governments tomorrow. But I won't preempt them, but I'm just saying that the worst case scenario, if it's been able to be substantiated that those allegations are actually true as raised by some concerned civil society organizations and candidates, that the INEC will look at it, and on its merits, they are expected to rule before collation proper starts this evening.
You're looking at the conduct of the election so far, with all you have said on the coverage of the elections in Kogi and what the feelers you've gotten from Imo and Bayelsa State. How would you rate INEC at this point?
Can you come again?
I'm saying that with all you have heard, with all you have said, and the feelers you've gotten from the from other states as Imo and Bayelsa, and you are in Kogi State, how would you rate the conduct of this election in those states? Of course, with what INEC has put in place as well.
Now, at this stage, it's going to be difficult to actually, score INEC because it's an ongoing process. This is just what we call the second half of the game. So we've gone through the process of accreditation, we've gone through the process of voting, and if we've gone through that process of accreditation that happened in the morning, voting proper in the, this afternoon that terminated by 2 o'clock. So what will happen at that ward level, what will happen at the local government level and at the collation center here will go a long way to credit what INEC has been doing for the past how many months, or to go a long way to discredit what the electoral body would have done so far. So it's still very, very premature to actually give INEC. But what I can say in terms of deployment, early deployment and logistics, from what I saw today in Lokoja, I can say so far, so good, Theophilus.
Ayo, how soon are we likely to see activities at the collation center where you are? Today or maybe tomorrow? Tomorrow. It's almost impossible. I've been doing this for some time now. I can tell you that it's almost impossible to get those results in today. Local government by local government. There are some local government, as I told you earlier, they're like 5 hours, 6 hours drive from the state capital here, and it's going to go through the process before they bring it. They are going to collate it at the local government, ward level, and to get to the state collation center here. That might not happen today. So we are looking at the early hours of tomorrow, so that those electoral officers from each of the local governments, they will be reading the results one by one, and we expect the returning officer any moment from now to constitute this collation center to declare it open. And once it's declared open, those results will be trickling in one by one, and we expected to have the full results, maybe max, tomorrow evening. This is Kogi State. It means that AY, it's likely to be a really long night. So how exactly are you prepared for the vigil? Because you have to keep watch.
It's our job. We are here. and the weather has not been too friendly in Kogi State. The temperature was like 38 degrees earlier today, and so far it's been very, very hot in the confluence city of Lokoja. So, but we're enjoying it. We have a job to do, and we're on ground here.
Well, AY, I only wish you the best. Keep up the good work you're doing. All of the updates we're getting from you, and definitely we'll get back to you, for more updates with the coalition. Thank you, our senior political correspondent Ayodele Ozugbakun. Oh, Alistair, you've heard, what AY shared there.
Yeah.
Watertight security to just make sure that the process is as accurate and accountable as it can be. You can't just attempt to,
walk in there.
walk
anyhow.
in.
Yes.
It's not possible.
I think I think despite that we have 3 states, most of the eyes on Kogi. There is maybe let's say we have like 50% of the eyes on Kogi, 30% on Imo, and maybe 20% on Bayelsa.
And why is that?
Well, maybe because of it has been. If you are correspondent, I'm sure you don't have a station a full complement.
No, we have a full
we
team
actually
everywhere.
do.
I don't know if I have
In each of the
a
states.
full complement, because when the heavyweight of Ayo is in Kogi, that leads credence to the importance of Kogi in this whole election. So we'll be having more now from Kogi, even the people who spoke. Because I think the last election in Kogi was a bit acrimonious. There were a lot of misgiving, so much violence, and people said there were snipers in helicopters, and so last election in Kogi was very, very acrimonious and very, very security-wise, very, very low security-wise. So maybe that's why they seem to want to fortify that. Even the NYC DG was in Kogi. I think also the chief of some of the top military, but they went to Kogi. So they think Kogi is the epic center. And so everybody seems to be having their eyes on Kogi because of what happened. Not to take anything away from Imo and Bayelsa. I think Bayelsa ranked low, but that should be the state with the worst security challenge because of its terrain and topography. And Imo, too, because of the activities of IPOB so far, Imo, too, should have that kind of presence. But I don't think it's bad that there's a once beaten, twice shy. Even though, and again, I think Imo is only, Kogi is the only state that is not having an incumbent trying to return. There's no incumbency. The incumbent is not on the ballot.
It's a new person.
It's a new person. It's a new race entirely, unlike Imo and Bayelsa, where you have the incumbents on the ballot. On the ballot. So, I'm happy with the report that there's watertight security. You see, it's costing us a lot. It's costing us a lot.
What exactly? The fact that it's off cycle, or
no. I mean, to maintain that level of security.
Okay.
It's quite expensive, and so that is why stakeholders need to really have a conversation around some of these things that we do, and it is out of our own the doing of the politicians that creates this kind of high tension in terms of security, because the average voter is not interested in creating problem. The reason who you are appealing to is not interested in creating problem. It is you that is the politician that is in creating the problem, fomenting the trouble. For you to have this kind of level, I mean, like talking about cordon off a whole street, a whole road. Now, for the next 2 days, till the results are declared and the entire place cleared, that road, so those who have businesses there, those who are living around that area, will be inconvenienced, and they will not be able to access there. So is it how we should go in perpetuity? I think we should have a conversation on how to, on merely electoral violence.
Should the conversation also talk about voter education?
Yes, basically voter, because I mean there's a full unit in INEC of voters education units. It's a directorate.
But are we doing well there?
We're not doing well. Even the National Orientation Agency that should lead in character remolding in the country. I think throughout the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, it was a dead organization. Because And I was fortunate to be in a network program with them on an NTA, and I was bitter. I said, I remember, what brought about National Electoral Agency? It was MAMSA. When MAMSA came up, and then after MAMSA, I think it was now converted to National Electoral Agency. Some of the staffs are still the staff that were in MAMSA. So the man we were in the program, he said yes, he started with MAMSA, Mass Mobilization, the one that headed by Jerry Ghana of the 80s. You know, so that is how. Then we knew how the military used that organization that institution to create awareness and to direct people's attention. Now, the National Electoral Agency should have a collaboration with INEC on voters' education, on taking the message. It's not just even our campaigns are not, for me, as far as I'm concerned, they're not campaigns. You just go there and stand and knock akpaku and dance and you tell the people, vote for us. We are the best. Don't mind them. Nothing of value. And then it just goes like, I can share money. Those who go to this, they know they can share money, share T-shirts, get umbrella, souvenirs, and they go home. Ask them, those that go to rallies, what was the message? Ask them. I'm sure 99.9% does not know the message. And this is what the National Electoral Agency should be doing. And the INEC Voter Education Department or Directorate should be doing. When you go to campaign, ask questions. Yes, but go and find a message. Go home with a message. You know, I used to think in other clients, they said, okay, there are people who are traditionally for this candidate, traditional for this candidate, then there is the undecided.
For candidates now, even for parties.
For parties.
And that's about party ideology.
Yes, party ideology. And then some people too, maybe the candidates which the party will throw up. That's why you keep having, what they call it, opinion polls, you know. If Ghana is doing this much, in terms of educating the voters, look, if you follow Ghana electoral, they're prepared for the election. I've been following them right from the primaries of the MPP. The NDC had their primary long ago. They've had their candidate in terms of presidency. If you see the process of the primaries for the presidential candidate of the MPP, now first of all, you have the super delegates primaries, which was held, I think, in October, that trimmed the number from, I think, from 15 to 5, the first 5. Super delegates, that is for super delegates, they call it super delegates for party chairmen and all that. So if you see the process, there were Joy News and other stations, we are doing analysis, we are doing opinion polls. Up to when they had the last convention, the delegate convention for which they just elected their, MPP just elected their president candidate 2 weeks ago. Now, there's even an opinion poll about who is likely to be the running mate. So it's a people follow these things sequentially, but in their own climb, no.
But sometimes poll, come up also in Nigeria.
Yes.
It's just that you find out that the results doesn't
tally.
Yeah, because most of the poll are done just to satisfy certain interests. Okay? We just want to maybe APC is doing a poll. They target one name. They award themselves all the votes. Oh, Labour Party did a poll.
So you think individuals don't even actually get to do the voting in those polls?
They don't. Okay, look at the poll done during the time of the last election by what is that? I can't remember. At the Peter Side and Co. Who owns that platform? What was the poll? They even awarded how many percentage to Labour Party in Kano State. And by the time I looked at that poll, I said, this is arrant trash. So we are not sincere. And we are not interested in deepening the process. We play with the process. And so that is why the people are not looking for any message. Most times the people will tell you, they know who they will vote for. My own is to go there, collect umbrella, collect souvenir, and go. And most often than not, you see a political rally in Lagos. Let's say a presidential campaign rally in Lagos. You import people from Oyo State, import them from all over the place to come to rally in Lagos. What are you trying to prove?
What do you think about debates?
Yes.
Pre-election debates.
That should be.
Does it deepen the process?
That is where people. It should. That is what should deepen the process. That should give. If people are undecided, it is that debate that will give them the ideas of what the candidates are. But in Nigeria, well, I don't think we have undecided voters. Because it's either we are voting out of sentiment, we are voting out of party affiliation, we are voting out of sentiment, we are voting out of tribe, we are voting out of religion. So not out of message.
But debates, do they give a level playing field to all political parties?
Yeah, because most of them are known, the fields are always big. How many parties do we have in Nigeria? The fields are always too big, so you cannot bring everybody. Okay. So at some point in time, the organizers will have to choose who are the top contenders that could come for a bit. I know it's not totally democratic, but given our peculiarities, we have over, how many parties do we have? The last ballot, we have 20-something people on the ballot. Yes. Now, which stage we take to it? If you want to hold a debate for 20-something people, what is the logistics? How will you do it? So
would you suggest a two-party state or something similar to
Well,
that?
we've gone beyond that. We've gone beyond that. It was during the SDP and the NRC days. We saw how, I mean, those of us who are old enough to know what happened then, we saw how it was. And of course, in the Second Republic, I was a small boy, but I followed politics then. We saw quality. There was no debate. But we saw the quality of campaign, of campaign rallies. I mean, if the late sage of Afra Awolowo is going to have a campaign rally, you understand, you know you are expecting a message. As a small boy, I trekked over 7 kilometers from where I was living to where Chief Afra Awolowo had his campaign in 1983, somewhere in Port Harcourt. So you're expecting a message. If Shagari was here, but now, we don't get a message. You just get dance, Naka Akpako.
So finally, Mr. Wilcox, when do you see or draw a curtain on this particular election in the 3 states? Sunday, Monday?
Well, from what I just said, we might go up to Monday. We might go up to Monday because if they cancel like this Ogori Magongo stuff, if they have to take action to accept that election, then they might have an election tomorrow.
All right.
Or thereabout. So might say Monday. But sometimes maybe it might dictate to Tuesday. But I think Bayelsa Imo might end up by latest Sunday evening or Monday morning. But Kogi might stretch.
The good thing is that we have our people who are giving us blow-by-blow information as it comes everywhere.
Definitely.
Yes. And thank you for your network. It's almost a national network now.
Well, it's actually an international network.
I'm talking in terms of national coverage. So it's no longer a Lagos TV. Yeah. It's now and it's a good thing. So some of us that comes here, we know why we come because it's a quality place for us to come and air our opinion.
So it's like you're not even so current really, but at least it's the reality, And we sincerely appreciate you for joining us. It's been a very rich, 2 hours spent with you discussing the off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. Thank you.
It's always my pleasure anytime. TVC.
Thank you very much.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right, you're watching the off-cycle elections, our special coverage of the poll as it goes down in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. We'll take a moment now, and my colleague and I, Theophilus Elama, would leave you. At this time, we'll be back with the news at the top of the hour, and then we'll bring you some other updates later.